The sun was already gone and the streetlights were blinking weakly in the cold wind. Ethan pulled his worn-out jacket tighter around his shoulders. He looked tired, not because of the long day, but because life had been cruel for too long. His mother was sick, lying in bed with a fading smile. The medicine cost more than he could ever afford. He needed a job, any job. He had walked through every street of the small colony town, looking at posters and signs. Most of them said the same thing, no vacancies, but tonight, something strange caught his eyes. There was a glowing board in an empty alley, with a flickering message written in both English and some unknown symbols. Workers wanted, immediate start, good pay. Ethan hesitated. The letters didn't look like anything from Earth, but the words good pay echoed in his head. His mother's pale face came before his eyes again. Without thinking twice, he walked toward the sign. As he came closer, the light from the board grew warmer, almost alive, like it was watching him. Then suddenly the light shifted, forming an arrow pointing toward a small building at the end of the street. The windows were dark. The air around it was colder, quieter, like the world itself was holding its breath. Ethan took a deep one and pushed the door open. Inside, the room was small and smelled like old metal and rain. There was only one chair, one desk, and behind it, a girl. But she didn't look like any normal girl. Her eyes glowed faint blue and her skin shimmered slightly, as if made of silver dust. She couldn't be more than 12, yet she looked both young and ancient at the same time. Ethan froze. I saw the sign outside," he said carefully. "I'm looking for work." The girl tilted her head, curious. "You're human," she said softly, her voice echoing like music underwater. "That is unacceptable," Ethan blinked. "Human? What else could he be?" "I just need work," he repeated. "My mother is sick." "I'll do anything." The girl looked at him silently for a few seconds, her bright eyes searching his face, not like she was looking at him, but through him. Then she smiled, small, soft, but filled with sadness. "You will help me," she said finally. "And I will help you." Before Ethan could reply, the walls of the room began to shift. The metal desk folded away. The floor beneath his feet started to glow, and the air filled with strange humming sounds. The little girl stood up, and a thin light appeared around her like a protective shield. "Wait, what is this?" Ethan stepped back, frightened. "Who are you?" The girl raised her hand gently. "Do not be afraid, Ethan Carter," she said, somehow knowing his name. "I came here from far away, and I need someone who still remembers kindness." Her words made no sense, but there was something honest in her voice, something that made Ethan stop running. "You need help?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, my ship is broken. My people are gone, and there are others who will come, dangerous ones. I must hide, and I need someone to protect me." Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. A sick mother at home, and now an alien child asking for help? He should have turned around and left, but then he saw her eyes again, wide, scared, and lonely. He knew that look too well. It was the same one his mother had when she was in pain. He sighed. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll help you. But you have to tell me everything." The girl smiled for real this time, a warm, almost human smile. "Then we have a deal," she said. The light around her pulsed once, and suddenly a small metallic cube appeared on the table. It floated gently, spinning and glowing blue. "This will be your payment," she said. "1 piece each day you stay. It is valuable." Ethan reached out, and the cube floated into his palm. It was warm, alive, like it had a heartbeat. But before he could ask another question, the lights outside flickered again. A deep hum filled the air, shaking the ground slightly. The alien girl's eyes went wide with fear. "They found me," she whispered. "They're here." Ethan turned toward the door. A strange red light was glowing from the street outside. The wind howled, and for the first time in years he felt real fear, mixed with something else, responsibility for his mother, for this mysterious girl, and for something much bigger than both of them. The red light outside the window grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan's hands tightened around the glowing cube. He could feel it trembling slightly, as if it was alive. The little alien girl looked terrified, her bright eyes darting toward the door. "They're coming," she whispered. "They can sense me." "Who?" Ethan asked quickly. "Who's coming for you?" Her lips trembled. "Hunters. They're not from your world. They search for beings like me, to take us, to use us. Before Ethan could say anything, the ground began to vibrate. Outside, shadows moved against the walls, tall, thin figures with glowing red eyes. The sound of metal footsteps echoed down the alley. Ethan's heart raced. His instincts screamed to run, but when he looked at the girl, small, fragile, clutching her glowing pendant, something inside him refused to move. He couldn't leave her alone. "Hide," she said quickly. "I'll make us invisible, but you must not speak." She raised her small hands and a soft silver mist spread across the room. The light from the cube dimmed. The sound of the door creaking open filled the silence. Ethan held his breath. Through the mist, 3 figures stepped inside. They were tall, over 7 feet, wearing dark armor that shimmered like oil. Their faces were covered by glass helmets glowing red. They spoke in a harsh, metallic language Ethan couldn't understand. One of them scanned the room with a strange device. The beeping sound grew louder as it turned toward where Ethan and the girl were standing. Ethan's heart pounded so hard it hurt. The girl squeezed his hand, her skin cold and trembling. Then suddenly the scanner light blinked once and went dark. "They moved past this sector," one of the aliens said in a deep, robotic voice. "Continue to the next." The 3 turned and walked out, the door closing with a heavy thud. Ethan exhaled sharply. "That was close," he whispered. The girl nodded weakly, her glowing skin fading a little. "The cloak takes energy. I cannot do it for long," she said softly, sitting down on the floor. Ethan knelt beside her. "You need to rest." "Are they gone?" "For now," she murmured. "But they will come again. They never stop." Ethan looked around the small metallic room. It felt like a trap now, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. "There has to be a way out," he muttered. "There is," she said quietly. "But I can't go without help. My ship is buried near this town, under the old quarry. If I can reach it, I can leave, and they will stop chasing me." "Then we'll get you there," Ethan said firmly. She looked at him with disbelief. "You would risk your life for me? A stranger, not even of your kind?" Ethan smiled faintly. "You said you'd help me too, remember? Besides, I'm already in this." The girl tilted her head, studying him. "Humans are strange," she whispered. "But I like that." Just then, a low rumbling sound came from outside. Not footsteps this time, but engines. Ethan peeked through a small crack in the door. Black drones hovered above the alley, scanning the buildings with red lasers. The hunters were searching again. "They're sweeping the area," he said. "We can't stay here." The girl stood up, though she looked weak. "We go now. Follow me." She touched the wall, and a glowing circle appeared, opening into a narrow tunnel of light. Ethan's jaw dropped. "You had that the whole time?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "I told you. I'm not from here." They stepped through the tunnel, and in an instant they were outside, miles away, standing near the edge of the forest that bordered the quarry. The night sky stretched above them, filled with silent stars. Ethan looked around, amazed. "How did you—" "Dimensional fold," she interrupted softly. "A shortcut through space." He laughed nervously. "You talk like that's normal." "It is where I come from," she said. "But here, it's dangerous. The air, the gravity, the energy, all different. I can't stay long." Ethan watched her expression change, and she looked tired, almost sick. "Are you okay?" "My body is changing," she said. "Your planet affects me. If I don't return soon, I will—" She didn't finish the sentence. Ethan didn't need her to. He knew the answer. "Then we'll move fast," he said. "We'll reach the quarry before sunrise." Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed behind them. A flash of red light lit up the night sky. The hunters had found the tunnel. "They're tracking the energy trail." The girl cried, "Run!" Ethan shouted. They ran through the forest, branches whipping against their faces, the sound of engines roaring closer. Red lights cut through the darkness, searching. Ethan grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her behind a fallen tree. "Stay low." A drone passed overhead, scanning the ground. Its beam stopped just inches away from them, and then moved on. Ethan looked at the girl, his heart racing. "This isn't just about you, is it? They're after something else." She hesitated, then whispered, "Yes. Something hidden inside me, a secret they can't have. Because if they do, your world will burn." Ethan froze. The forest went silent again, the red lights fading into the distance. But inside him a new fear and purpose began to grow. Whatever this little alien girl was hiding, it wasn't just her fight anymore. It was his too. The forest was quiet now, too quiet. Only the sound of Ethan's footsteps and the soft breathing of the little alien girl broke the silence. The night air was cold and a silver mist floated between the trees. Somewhere behind them, the faint red glow of the hunters flickered through the dark. Ethan stopped for a moment, trying to catch his breath. "We have to move faster," he said, looking back. "They're getting closer." The girl nodded weakly. "I can't run much longer. My energy is fading." He looked at her. She seemed even smaller now, her glowing skin dimmer than before. "We'll find a place to hide," he said. "Just a little more." They reached an old wooden cabin near the edge of the forest. It looked abandoned, covered in moss and dust, but it had 4 walls and a roof. Good enough for the night. Ethan pushed the door open. Inside, it smelled like damp wood and rust. He placed the glowing cube from his pocket on the table. It lit the room with a soft blue light. The girl sat down on a chair and whispered something in her language. The cube responded. Its light flickered faster and a hologram appeared above it, a star map. Ethan stared in disbelief. "Is that space?" She nodded. "These are the star systems where my people once lived. We were explorers, travelers, until the hunters came." Ethan looked closer at the map. Hundreds of glowing dots connected by lines. One of them blinked brighter than the others. "That's Earth," she said softly. "And inside me is a piece of what we call the core." "The core?" Ethan repeated. "Yes," she said. "It is a memory crystal. It holds knowledge from thousands of worlds, technology, history, life itself." Ethan frowned. "Then why would the hunters want it?" She looked at him, her blue eyes filled with sorrow. "Because it can also destroy." The air grew colder. Ethan sat down slowly. "You mean, like a weapon?" "Yes," she said. "If they access it, they can rewrite matter. They can erase worlds. Your planet would be next." Ethan felt a chill run through him. "And it's inside you?" She nodded. "My father hid it there. Before they caught him. He told me to run to find a safe world. But I didn't know. Your planet was already watched." Ethan rubbed his face, trying to think. "So your father gave you the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, and now those things are hunting you here." She lowered her head. "I never wanted this. I just wanted to live." Ethan looked at her, his heart heavy. "You and me both," he said quietly. "But we'll figure something out." Suddenly, the cube's light flickered violently. The hologram trembled, and a strange high-pitched tone filled the cabin. The girl gasped. "They've found the signal!" "They're tracking us again." Ethan grabbed the cube and shoved it into his backpack. "Then we move now." But as he reached for the door, a beam of red light sliced through the wall, burning a hole right beside him. He ducked. Outside, the forest glowed red again. "They're here," the girl shouted. Ethan looked around frantically. There was no way out except the back window. "Go!" he yelled. He broke the window and helped her climb out first. Another laser shot cracked the air above his head. The hunters were closing in fast. Ethan jumped out after her, landing hard on the cold ground. They ran through the trees, branches snapping behind them. The girl pointed ahead. "The quarry is near, just past the ridge." Ethan could see a faint light in the distance, maybe moonlight reflecting off metal. But the ground beneath them shook again. Something heavy landed nearby. A tall shadow emerged from the darkness, one of the hunters, its red eyes burning like fire. It raised its arm, and a blade of pure energy extended from its wrist. "Run!" Ethan yelled, stepping in front of the girl. The hunter's mechanical voice echoed through the trees. "Surrender the core host. Human interference will be terminated." Ethan grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground. It was useless against a creature like that. But he had no choice. "Come on then," he said through gritted teeth. The hunter moved fast. Too fast. But before it could strike, the little girl screamed something in her alien language. A burst of blue light exploded from her body, throwing the creature backward. The ground shook. Trees cracked and fell. The air hummed with strange energy. When the light faded, the hunter was gone or burned into ash. Ethan looked at her in shock. "What did you do?" Her body glowed faintly, trembling. "I released a fragment of the core's power. But it weakens me." "You saved us," Ethan said. She smiled faintly, her eyes tired. "No, Ethan, I just made it worse. Now they will know exactly where we are." In the distance, red lights flared in the sky again, dozens of them this time. The hunters were coming in full force. Ethan picked her up in his arms. Then let's finish this. We're getting you to that ship no matter what. The little alien girl looked at him, her expression soft but filled with fear. If we fail, she whispered, your world will end with me. Ethan tightened his grip. Then we won't fail. They disappeared into the dark forest, the red lights chasing them like angry stars. The sky was turning pale gray as dawn approached. Ethan's legs burned from running, but he didn't stop. The little alien girl, light and fragile in his arms, Quartus was fading fast. Her glow was dimmer now, flickering like a dying candle. Behind them, the forest still echoed with the faint hum of the hunters' ships. Red light beams moved between the trees, searching. Ethan could feel the vibration of their engines in his chest. They finally reached the edge of the forest. Before them stretched a vast pit, the old quarry, long abandoned by humans. Rusted machines lay half buried in mud, and pools of green water shimmered under the morning light. Ethan looked down into the pit. Your ship is down there? He asked, breathing hard. The girl nodded weakly. Yes, beneath the old mining tunnel. It crashed long ago. I hit it. Ethan scanned the area. There was no sign of movement, but he knew the hunters would be here soon. All right, he said, tightening his grip on his backpack. Let's get you home. They slid down the rocky slope, dust rising under their feet. The air smelled of metal and wet earth. As they reached the bottom, the girl pointed toward a collapsed tunnel. There, she whispered. Ethan walked carefully toward it. The entrance was covered in debris, broken pipes and rocks, but beneath them faint blue light glowed from the cracks. Ethan pushed aside a large stone, and the light grew brighter. A metallic door covered in alien symbols appeared beneath the rubble. Is this it? He asked. The girl smiled faintly. Yes, it will open for me. She pressed her glowing hand against the surface. The symbols lit up in a spiral pattern, and the door slid open silently, revealing a tunnel of smooth silver walls that pulsed softly with light. Ethan stared in awe. This doesn't look like any ship I've ever seen. It's alive, she said softly. Our ships are made from living metal. They grow, heal, and connect with their pilot. As they stepped inside, the air changed, warm, calm, and faintly humming. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, filled with strange technology. Blue crystals floated in midair, glowing softly. In the center was a large pod, cracked open and covered in dust. That's the control chamber, she said. If I can connect again, I can restore the ship. Ethan set her down gently beside the pod. Then let's do it fast. They'll be here any minute. She placed her hand on the pod, and the lights across the ship began to flicker to life. The hum grew louder, deeper, like the heartbeat of a giant creature awakening after years of sleep. Ethan looked around, amazed. It's waking up, he whispered. But then, from above, a loud metallic roar echoed through the quarry. He looked up, not and froze. 3 massive hunter ships were descending from the sky, their red lights glowing like angry eyes. They found us, Ethan said. The girl didn't stop. Her eyes were closed, and streams of blue energy ran through her arms into the ship. I need a few minutes, she said, her voice shaking. The core is sinking. Please protect me. Ethan grabbed a fallen metal rod, the only weapon he had. He ran toward the tunnel entrance, his heart pounding. The first hunter dropped from the sky and landed hard, shaking the ground. It raised its arm, aiming a blaster straight at him. Ethan dove behind a piece of old machinery as the shot hit, sparks flying everywhere. He picked up a stone and threw it. Useless, but it distracted the creature for a moment. Then he charged. He swung the rod with all his strength, hitting the alien's helmet. The impact sent a shock through his arm, but the hunter staggered slightly. Before it could recover, Ethan struck again, hitting its chest plate. The rod cracked, and the alien grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Human resistance is futile, it growled in a cold metallic voice. Ethan gasped for air, and then he saw something behind it. The alien girl's ship was glowing brighter, and the walls pulsed with light. The ground beneath them began to vibrate. The hunter turned, distracted for just a second. It was enough. Ethan jammed the broken rod into a crack in the alien's armor. Sparks burst out, and the creature screamed before collapsing. Ethan fell to the ground, coughing. He looked back toward the ship. The girl was floating now, surrounded by light, her eyes glowing white. The core, is awake, she whispered. A shock wave burst from the ship, spreading through the quarry. The other hunter's ship shuddered, losing control, spinning out of the sky before crashing into the rocks. The light from the core spread across the walls like fire, but instead of burning, it healed. When the noise faded, silence returned. The hunters were gone. Ethan slowly stood up, his ears ringing. The ship now looked alive, no smooth, shining breathing. The girl floated gently back down, landing softly beside him. "You did it," he said. She smiled faintly, but her eyes were sad. "No, Ethan, this is only the beginning. The core is awake, and it remembers everything." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means it knows who destroyed my world," she said softly. "And it's coming here next." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "Who?" She looked up at the sky, her voice barely above a whisper. "The ones who made the hunters. Humans." The words echoed in Ethan's mind like thunder. Humans. He couldn't believe what he just heard. The little alien girl, the glowing softly in the living ship, looked serious, her eyes full of pain. "What do you mean?" "Humans?" Ethan asked, his voice shaking. "That doesn't make sense. We didn't even know about your world." The girl looked away. "You forgot," she said quietly. "Your kind erased it from history." Ethan frowned. "That's impossible. How could we forget something like that?" She walked closer to the ship's main core, a tall, crystal-like pillar glowing with blue energy. "The core has memories," she said. "It remembers every battle, every scream. Let me show you." Before Ethan could speak, the light from the pillar surrounded him. Suddenly, the world around him changed. He was standing in space, floating above a burning planet. Gigantic ships with the human flag, Earth's symbol, fired weapons that shattered cities made of silver and light. Blue-skinned beings ran for their lives as flames consumed their world. He saw the hunters, not as they were now, but as machines created in human labs. Engineers programmed them. Scientists gave them orders. Seek, capture, obey. Then he saw a final image, a tall human commander giving the order. Erase all records. This war never happened. The vision ended. Ethan fell to his knees, gasping. The ship's floor felt real again, but the images stayed burned in his mind. "No," he whispered. "That can't be true." The girl's voice was soft but steady. "Your ancestors created the hunters to fight my people. When they lost control, the hunters turned on everyone, even the humans who built them. That is why your history books are silent." Ethan stared at her, speechless. "So in this war, it's our fault?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, but not yours. You were never told. Your people buried the truth to protect themselves, and now it's repeating." Ethan stood up, angry and confused. "If that's true, why come here? Why risk everything to return?" The girl touched the glowing pillar. "Because the core can fix what was broken. It can end the hunters forever. But it needs a human code to unlock it." Ethan blinked. "A human code?" "Yes," she said. "The one that started them must also end them. My father said only a human with a heart that still believes in mercy can trigger the shutdown." Ethan took a deep breath. "You think that's me?" She looked into his eyes. "You cared for someone who was dying. You risked everything for a stranger. That is enough." He wanted to argue, but deep inside something told him she was right. Maybe this was why he found that strange workers wanted sign. Maybe it wasn't luck, and maybe it was fate. Suddenly the ship's walls pulsed red. A loud alarm rang through the chamber. "They've found us again," Ethan shouted. The girl's eyes widened. No, not the hunters. Something worse. Outside the quarry, a massive shape blocked the rising sun. A black ship, 10 times larger than the others, descended slowly, its engines roaring like thunder. The ground shook, rocks falling from the cliffs. "That's a warship," Ethan said. The girl's voice trembled. "That's the Overlord. The first hunter. The one that commands the rest." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Then we run now." She shook her head. "No running. It's too late. If we leave, the world burns. We must finish the sequence." "What sequence?" Ethan asked. "The human code," she said. "You must link with the core. It will test your mind, your truth. If you fail, it will destroy us both." Ethan stepped closer to the glowing pillar. "I don't understand any of this." "I'm not special," the girl smiled weakly. "Neither was my father, but he still saved me." Outside, the warship fired its first shot, a beam of red light that struck the ground, shaking the entire quarry. The ship walls cracked, sparks flying. Ethan grabbed the girl's arm. "Tell me what to do." She placed his hand on the core. "Close your eyes. Think of what you protect, your mother, your world, your promise. The core will see your truth." He closed his eyes. The blue light surrounded him again, pulling him into a strange silence. Images flashed. His sick mother's smile, the lonely nights, the desperate search for work. And now this child who needed him more than anyone ever had. A voice spoke inside his head. Deep, mechanical, ancient. Human signature detected. Authorization pending. Emotional integrity. Testing, pain shot through him like fire. The core was reading his memories, his fears, his guilt. "Do you seek power or peace?" the voice asked. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Peace. Do you serve yourself or others?" "Others? Would you die for what you protect?" He thought of his mother. He thought of the girl. "Yes," he said. "I would." The light grew brighter until it blinded him. Then, in silence, the girl gasped. "It's working." Outside, the hunters froze midair, their red lights flickering. One by one, they fell from the sky like broken stars. Ethan opened his eyes, barely able to stand. "Did we stop them?" The girl looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Yes, you did," but her glow began to fade completely. "Wait, what's happening?" he asked, panicked. "The core is complete," she said softly. "It doesn't need a host anymore." Ethan reached for her, but she smiled faintly. "Thank you, Ethan. You saved more than your world. You saved mine." And with that, her body dissolved into pure light, merging with the ship's core. Ethan fell to his knees, staring at the empty space where she once stood. Outside, the sun rose over a quiet earth. The war was over, but in the distance, the black warship still floated, silent, watching. The morning sky was quiet, too quiet. Ethan stood in the middle of the old quarry, surrounded by silence and smoke. The hunters were gone, their red lights fading like dying stars. The air smelled of metal and ash. The alien girl was gone too. Her body had vanished into the core, leaving behind nothing but soft blue dust that shimmered in the air like mist. Ethan's hands were trembling. "She's really gone," he whispered. The ship's walls still pulsed gently with blue light like it was breathing. For a moment, Ethan thought it was over, that everything she'd fought for had worked. But then, the ground began to vibrate again. A deep rumbling sound came from above. The sky darkened as shadows covered the quarry. Ethan looked up and froze. The Overlord's warship was still there, but it wasn't silent anymore. Its red core pulsed violently, lighting up the clouds. The engines roared, shaking the ground like thunder. "No," Ethan whispered. "We stopped the hunters." A cold mechanical voice echoed from the sky. "Correction. The hunters are terminated. The Overlord remains." The massive ship began to descend slowly. Its shadow swallowed the entire quarry. Ethan stumbled back, shielding his eyes as a beam of red light shot down, striking the core ship beside him. The ship screamed, not with sound, but through vibration and pain that Ethan could feel in his bones. The Overlord spoke again. "You awakened the core, human. You restored its power. Now it belongs to me." Ethan clenched his fists. "You're not taking it." The red beam struck again, this time cutting deep into the earth. The core ship's blue light flickered like a dying flame. Ethan ran toward the glowing pillar where the girl had vanished. "Come on," he muttered. "You said it could fix things. Wake up." But the core was silent. The Overlord's voice grew louder. "The host has merged. Her data is mine. Humanity will serve again." That sentence hit Ethan like a punch. Serve again. He finally understood this wasn't just revenge. The Overlord wanted control. It wanted to rebuild the same system that had destroyed the aliens' people and enslave humans once more. He looked around desperately. Nearby, the alien girl's cube, the small glowing one she'd first given him, lay half buried in the dust. Ethan grabbed it. Its light flickered weakly like it was trying to speak. "Come on," he whispered. "If you can hear me." "I need you," the cube vibrated. A faint hologram appeared. It was her. Faint, ghostly, but smiling. "Ethan," she said softly. "If you're seeing this, it means the Overlord survived." Her image flickered. "Listen carefully. The core's power comes from emotion, from truth. The Overlord cannot feel, but you can. If you link with the ship again, you can control it." Ethan's heart pounded. but I don't know how. Believe, her voice said, fading. The core will remember you. The hologram vanished. Ethan turned toward the core's pillar, glowing faintly in the dust. Above him, the Overlord's ship opened like a massive black flower, revealing hundreds of red drones charging their weapons. He ran to the pillar, pressing his hand against it. It's me, Ethan Carter. You remember me? Nothing happened at first, and then, slowly, the blue light grew stronger. A voice spoke inside his head, calm, familiar, and warm. Human Link recognized. Core reactivation, 60%, the Overlord fired. Beams of red light rained down. The ground cracked open, rocks exploded. Ethan ducked as debris flew everywhere, but he didn't move his hand. Core, give me control, he shouted. Warning, emotional energy insufficient. What does that even mean? You must feel. Not fear, hope, he closed his eyes. He thought of his mother, weak but smiling, telling him to never give up. He thought of the little alien girl, trusting him when no one else would. He thought of her last words, "You saved my world." I'm not afraid, he shouted. Not anymore. The pillar blazed with blue light. The energy burst through the ship, crawling up the walls and shooting into the sky like lightning. The Overlord's drones froze mid-air. Core synchronization complete, the voice said. Human pilot established. Ethan felt energy surge through his body. His eyes glowed faint blue and the ship responded to his every breath. He could feel it, the living metal, the pulse of the core. Above him, the Overlord roared. You cannot control what you do not understand, human. Ethan smiled grimly. Then I'll learn fast. He raised his hands, and the core ship rose from the ground, floating upward. The blue energy formed wings of light around it. The two ships faced each other in the sky. One red, one blue, human creation against human courage. Machine against man. The Overlord charged its main cannon, red lightning flickering around its edges. Ethan gritted his teeth. This ends now, the core ship responded instantly. Blue energy built around him, glowing brighter than the sun. The two beams, red and blue, unfired at once, colliding in the sky with a thunderous explosion. The world flashed white. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop, and in that silence, Ethan heard her voice again. Gentle, steady. I'm still here, he smiled through the light. Then let's finish this. Together, the explosion expanded, swallowing both ships in a storm of color. The sky was no longer blue. Half of it glowed red from the Overlord's fire, the other half shimmered with Ethan's blue light. The two forces clashed high above Earth, turning the morning into a storm of color and thunder. Ethan floated inside the living ship, his body connected to the core. He could feel its heartbeat, strong, alive, but also fragile. His veins glowed faintly blue and every breath felt heavy, filled with power not meant for humans. Across from him, the Overlord's warship loomed like a mountain of darkness, its massive eye pulsing red. You are only human, it growled. You cannot fight creation itself. Ethan smiled weakly. Maybe not, but I can fight what it became. He raised his hands and the core responded. Streams of blue energy spiraled outward, forming a protective shield around Earth. The Overlord fired. A massive red beam cut through the sky, but it shattered against the barrier like glass. Inside his mind, Ethan heard another voice, soft, familiar. Ethan, can you hear me? It was her, the alien girl. He smiled through the pain. You're here. Part of me, she said. The core kept my memory. But you must hurry. Your body cannot hold the connection for long. He looked down at his hands. Cracks of light were forming across his skin. The energy was tearing him apart. What do I do? He asked. You must end the Overlord. The core can erase him, but it will take everything you have. Ethan hesitated. Everything? Yes, your life force will be the final key. For a moment, silence filled his mind. His mother's face flashed before him, lying in her bed, weak but smiling. He had promised he'd come back. He took a deep breath. If I die, will the world live? Yes, she said softly. And your mother will see the sunrise again. He closed his eyes. Then that's enough. The Overlord's voice thundered again. You are wasting your strength, human. Your kind always destroys what it cannot control. Ethan's eyes blazed blue. Then maybe it's time we fix that. He stretched both arms toward the enemy ship. The core flared brighter than ever before. the light swallowing the sky. The Overlord roared in defiance, firing all its weapons at once, red beams, missiles, fire. But everything turned to dust before reaching him. Inside the Overlord, alarms screamed. "Critical overload detected." Ethan's body trembled. The Core's voice echoed through his mind. Human spirit. Absolute. Final sequence unlocked. He felt her presence beside him, the alien girl, glowing like a spirit of light. "Let's finish this together," she said, smiling gently. He nodded. Together. Blue and red collided one last time. The explosion was silent at first, then spread like a wave across the sky, shaking the atmosphere itself. From the ground, people all over the world looked up. For the first time in history, they saw two lights dancing in the sky, one red, one blue, and then merging into pure white. When the light faded, the Overlord was gone. Nothing remained except falling ash and silence. The core ship floated quietly, its glow dimming. Inside, Ethan lay on the floor, barely breathing. His skin was pale, his heartbeat weak. A soft light appeared beside him. The girl's spirit faint but smiling. "You did it," she whispered. Ethan tried to smile back. "Did we win?" "Yes," she said. "Earth is safe. The hunters are gone." He looked at her for a moment. "So this is it?" She nodded. "The core will sleep now, until it's needed again." Ethan looked out at the rising sun through the ship's window. The light was warm, golden, like the first morning after a long, dark night. He chuckled softly. "It's beautiful." The girl knelt beside him, her hand hovering over his chest. "Rest now, Ethan, you kept your promise." His eyes grew heavy. "Tell my mom." "I tried." Her voice broke slightly. "She'll know. She'll feel it." He closed his eyes, his breathing slowing. The core pulsed once, read a final heartbeat, and then went silent. The ship descended gently into the quarry, now calm and filled with sunlight. The blue glow faded, replaced by soft golden rays of dawn. Days later, people found the crater, and at its center a small glowing cube, still warm to the touch. Scientists studied it, but none could explain the faint heartbeat they heard when they held it close. Some said it was alien energy. Others said it was Earth's new guardian. But far above, among the stars, a tiny blue light blinked once, as if someone was still watching. And somewhere, deep inside the core's memory, a voice whispered, "Humans were flawed, but one of them remembered kindness." The light drifted quietly into space, carrying both their souls, one human, one alien, bound forever by sacrifice and the promise that humanity was worth saving.